Good day, everyone. We're here again for another episode of Transcending Consciousness. I'm Tim,
And I'm Casey.
and for this episode, we will talk about the education system. We know that in our current climate, the education system is we have the elementary 6 years, then 6 years of high school, and then we go off to go to college. But let's see how the educational system in our country can be improved. Any thoughts?
Well, based on our experience, or my experience when I was still studying, I find our educational system really boring because we have to wake up really early, go to school, and then most of the subject matters they are teaching us are nice to know only. Really, they are not really helpful in the real world. And then most of the time, they focused mainly on giving us tests or quizzes or examinations just to test our memories. But in reality, most of the children they are not interested in these topics. So after the summer vacation, most of what they had learned or we had learned, most of them we forget. So yes, lately, since the schools are focusing more on, for example, the Singaporean math, they are introducing more difficult topics at a younger age. So we have seen the rise of stress in children. So the suicidal rates are increasing, and so all sorts of neurosis develop in the child as they grow up. So maybe it's about time that we visit this setting. In the Philippines, we have a big class size. For example, in the public school, it's around 40 to 50 students per class in one teacher. And I know in some private schools, it's around 40 or maybe high 30s, and then just one teacher. So with that kind of system, it's really difficult for the teacher to look up to all of our students and to guide them accordingly. So yes, it's about time that we share our ideas when it comes to the educational system.
Well, during when I grew up, so I had my education in the province in the Chinese school. So I have, aside from the usual subject, I have like an extra 2 hours of Chinese subject. It's mostly for me like a 7 to 5. Most of like in the Chinese was memorization, but because I come from a Chinese family, so I trained myself to speak in Chinese, so at least it wasn't wasted on me. When I was young, the focus really is for objectivity in most educational systems. So it's usually very rational, very linear way of thinking. And I actually excelled in that thinking because I've got rated in valedictorian of my class. But you can see some limitations of this method of teaching because those people who can cope with this objective, rational, linear teaching are the ones that excel. Those with like more of an emotional intelligence, or those who have like an artistic slant in what they want or what they aspire to be. They usually don't do well in this system. And also, most science and math is rewarded, and the arts, the humanities, the social science are not that much valued in the elementary and high school. Well, that's just my experience because in many Chinese schools here, it's really math and science, and of course traditional Chinese subjects. I guess we try to look at the educational system and what are the things we can do to improve the education. So, any thoughts, Casey?
One of the things I think that we can improve is, for example, if we lessen the class size, okay, so that the teacher can have more time to help the students. And for example, in another setting, maybe do you think giving awards or grade using the grading system can really help the students? But But for me, it only adds stress or pressure to those students who really want to excel. Or maybe I have seen some students consistently having honors, for example. They are the ones really pressured to continue that grading system, which is actually based on the standards, created standards of the school. So because of that grading system, the value of each children, they actually do not, they just objectify the value of each child, but that's not the case. We know that each child or each student is special. So yes, maybe if there's one system that we can remove the grading system, this will actually drastically remove or lessen the stress in our students.
Well, for me, yes, that would be ideal, I guess. But again, we need, I think, something to qualify or quantify what the children are learning, and it's also, we need this as well for, I guess, going into college or going into even internationally. We need those grades because that is what the schools want. So it's hard, but I guess you're right that sometimes this grading system causes stress. So it's ideal that we find another way of grading students that is not basically solely on exams. So we can grade them on other intelligence like emotional, sympathy, the like. Which for now I don't know how we could do it, but I guess it would be good if we have that kind of model in education. But I think a very important for me to refine the education is to teach psychology. Psychology should be taught even in elementary students because this is a very important field of interest because it will tell people how people react, and we can also address some of our problems with education, such as bullying. We know that bullying affects the consciousness, affects the mental status of the bullied person, and it will negatively affect his overall performance in school. So by knowing psychology, even in this little children, they will know how to react to certain instances. So they will have the power to choose their reactions because they know that they are in control of their own faculties, of their thoughts, of their feelings, and nobody can take that away. And I think this is the first step for refining our education. Just going and teach psychology, teach how the human psyche works, which will actually improve the relationship of the students with each other, with their parents. It could help in avoiding all these problems of bullying, also of suicide, stress, so that all of this can be addressed. There's a problem with there might be guidance counselors, but the way psychology works is not being taught. So even in simple terms, should be taught to the students.
Actually, what I was, I was hoping in the ideal situation, the whole educational system of the whole world, if somehow we can remove the things that I've said, like the grading system, we change it to something else for the whole world, so that when it will not be difficult for our students to go to college or to another country and study there. So that's an idea. But if we start only in the Philippines, yes, it will be difficult really for the students to adapt to the old traditional educational system. But yeah. In addition to what you have said, yes, I guess one of the key ideas we can teach our children is the spiritual wisdom that we have gained throughout the many years we've been following our spiritual path. So once we instill those ideas at a very early age, yes, then they can really incorporate the spirituality into their lives. And for example, when we teach the law of cause and effect, so what happens when they use this negative, for example, bullying, this negative action of bullying, at least they will be aware that someday, that energy may haunt them or may come back to them, and then others will bully them. So it's really important for us to share at an early age the spiritual truths, in easy to understand terms, because children, they mostly learn through actions, not really, by telling them you should do this or you should not do this, but through actions.
So actually, yes, it's important to have this spiritually known to people, but a problem is, we live in a secular world, and although the Philippines is mostly Catholic, so I came from a Catholic high school, even university, in college and medicine. So we were ingrained so much with the Christian values. So my idea for now is, I think, to put spirituality in more secular terms. So that's why I said adding psychology. So psychology actually teach us many spiritual truths, and it's important that this secular version of spirituality is being taught to them. So aside from psychology, what needs to be taught is, I think, the humanities. So the humanities should be taught, so the arts, politics, they should be taught even in elementary or high school students, so that they will have a grasp of this concept. When I was in high school, we have very advanced mathematics. I had calculus, I had accounting, basic accountancy in a high school student. All of these are not required, but because we came from Chinese schools, so we have more advanced mathematics. So aside from focusing on mathematics, we should focus as well in teaching psychology and humanities. And this will lead to a more spiritual value for the students, in the essence that what we're teaching is universal concepts. This is not concept that relate to only a specific religion or a specific belief system. These are universal concepts. And the fields of psychology and humanities exemplify these universal concepts in secular terms.
Yeah, I think we should teach the spiritual concepts not only in the students, but also in all of our teachers. They should undergo psychological training. Maybe use some psychological tools to reflect upon themselves and see to correct their psychological hang-ups in life, so that they can actually be a better teacher towards the students. And of course, when we teach the spiritual truths or insights to our teachers, then they will become better persons, and then they will be able to teach or lead by example.
So is there a place for religion in education? Well, if you came from a specific religious background, then yes, I guess it would be good to have that education. But again, we've started this channel to correct some of the misleading concepts and dogmas especially in Christianity. And we want to keep on doing this because we want people to awaken to a more universal spirituality. And I just don't want you to feel that we are trying to convert people, because we're simply trying to inspire people to have a more universal view of life and a more universal acceptance to all the brothers and sisters, regardless of our race, our religion, our background. And this will lead to a more better society.
Our current conditions in the world is a result of our current educational system, our current religious teachings. So, these are already in place, and what we are experiencing right now in the whole world is a result of our current level of consciousness. So I remember Einstein's definition of insanity: when we keep doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results, that is insanity. But if we continue being the same thing, like it's the same educational system, the same religious teachings, without changing, without transforming these, that's insanity. So the way that we can improve our society is for us to change. We have been preaching change, or we have been teaching change ever since our first video. So in all aspects of society, including education, we must change it so that we can outpicture a new and better society.
So there's no such thing as like the perfect education, because as the current consciousness of society is raised, then education will change, the government, political policies will change, the religious landscape will change, so everything will change. So the goal here is, as we raise our consciousness, those who have the knowledge on the educational system, they can receive inputs from the universal mind and institute change in this aspect. And as society progresses, so the educational system need to adapt. So too as all other aspects, especially religion, which we know is the least adaptable of them all.
So yes, maybe in part of the new educational system is for the children to learn how to meditate at a very young age, to connect from the universal mind within. And then, when they know their divine plan, their purpose in life, then they can share their wisdom or their purpose with all of us, and hope in the hopes of raising the whole of humanity.
Thank you.
If you have ideas, you can comment below, and hopefully we can inspire others to start this change.
Thank you so much. See you again.